Okay, now there are some experts who were shifting now to NewJeans, kind of connected, but not really, because since all of this blew up, everyone is getting in trouble with the law. Hee-jin is nowhere to be found. Have you realized that we can't find Hee-jin? The other thing that we can find, the laptop. She hasn't returned the laptop. However, so some people, this are business related newspapers on Korea has sort of analyzed what are the options that NewJeans has left, given the latest decision to fine them 1 billion each whenever they violate the court decision. So the filing, this adores indirect enforcement application. So what happened was that the court in the injunction sided with Adore. This is the initial one. So they told NewJeans, you have to work under Hybe and you have to work with Hybe. You can't do business directly. They violated that by joining the complex con. And so Adore then went to the court and said, you have to also, you can't just do a judgment, you have to implement the judgment as well, hence the fine. They initially actually applied for 2 billion each. So they want a fine of 2 billion per member whenever they violate the court decision. But the court cut they granted 1 billion instead of 2 billion. Okay, so this is according to the Civil Execution Act. In cases where the nature of the obligation permits indirect enforcement, the court of first instance shall, upon the creditor's application, issue a ruling for indirect enforcement. This ruling must state the obligation to be fulfilled and set a reasonable deadline for its performance. If the debtor fails to comply within that period, the court may impose monetary compensation for each day of delay or order immediate damages. So this means that the judgment must have a punishment, and it can be monetary punishment. In this case, 1 billion per member for each instance. In simpler terms, if the debtor does not comply with the court's order, they may be penalized through fines based on how long the delay lasts. Okay. Now, the one thing that made the court impose the fine was NewJeans' violation by working in complex con and shutting down or ghosting Adore. If you would remember, 2 days before complex con, the injunction decision was handed down and they violated that. And so the court was like, yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that to the court. If we ask you to do something, you're going to have to do it. Otherwise, you're going to be punished. And this is the punishment, 1 billion for each of them. Okay, so the scope, the newspaper clarified that the scope of the entertainment activities, it's not limited to just singing engagement, but other broadcast activities, advertising contract activities, and most other commercial activities based on popularity that can be done in category of popular pop culture and art. Essentially, anything that they will do that will earn them money, that has to go through Hybe now. So Adore. So the court made that clear. Whether it's advertising, whether it is brand ambassadorship, performance, new song, that has to go through Adore. So what you pulled in Complex Con, where you released a new single and performed without the knowledge or without the cooperation of Hybe or Adore, that is not acceptable anymore. So they said that NewJeans has 3 options. One option is to what will from here forward. They can win the main lawsuit, which is Hybe asking the court to certify the validity of the exclusive contract. They can win that case. Number 2, they can return to normal activities, meaning go back to Adore. Just go back to Adore and do your activities. And number 3, just quit entertainment activities and each take a path of non-celebrity. So those are the 3 options that they have. Okay. Does it include interview? What do you mean? Which one are you asking about? So, however, completely resolving the contract issue by winning the lawsuit is the cleanest way for NewJeans. Meaning, this will be the best case scenario for them. They win the lawsuit, the main lawsuit. But how? They can't even win the injunction. The court has essentially rejected all of their claims. And the only way they have will have a case if they present an evidence. It has happened where the Supreme Court, the higher court, actually goes against the lower court, but only when there is a new angle or new evidence presented. But they haven't, at least not with our knowledge, they haven't presented any new evidence. So it is less likely unless they do have a trump card, whatever that trump card may be. Second, they have burned too many bridges. So I can see that scenario where they're just going to go back to a door and sort of, oh, everything is forgiven. Let's work together. I have absolutely no idea how that's going to happen. And third, are you really just going to allow yourself to retire? So my fourth option is for them to settle. They pay the fine and they continue working. So do it the same way JYJ did it. With they in the future they are going Hybe is going, or Adore is going to get a portion of their earnings until the penalties is paid off, but they can continue working, and Adore is not going to get go I mean bar them from working for as long as they continue paying. They haven't presented any evidence. They haven't presented any new evidence, or old one, I guess. Can NJ just pay now and get released from the contract? They can if they have a financial backer, but that is a lot of money. We're talking, we're talking 500, 750 million dollars in contract. Most likely more, probably more. So they can, the answer to your question is they can if they can pay. Where are they going to get the money? So if you would remember in 2023, each member got paid like 3.7, 3.5 million. And let's assume that they were wise and they actually invested some of it. Even if they invested in this, what did they invest in that would give them that much of a return to be able to pay it off? Bitcoin, Nvidia, Tesla, I don't know. Or maybe they have businesses, but I doubt that they can grow that money that fast in that short span of time. What if Hype doesn't want to settle? If the court, the court can compel them to settle. The court can compel them to settle, meaning the court can say, okay, this is what we're going to do. The court can put their foot down and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. You will be paid your fine. That is by them paying you a portion of their income until the fine is paid. And then they will continue working, which I think is what's going to happen eventually. So they will, so that is an option. Or if the court says, sorry girls, Hybe wins or Adore wins, then the girls won't have any choice. They have to fulfill the contract. They have to fulfill the contract. If the court tells them, then they have to fulfill the contract. In the Philippines, there is a precedent like this. There is a celebrity who sued her company wanting to nullify the contract. The name of the girl is Nadine. She's pretty popular. She's pretty successful. So she sued the company because she wanted to nullify the contract. And the court said, I'm sorry, but the contract stays. You're going to have to work with them. You can't just unilaterally say you don't want the contract anymore. So she stayed. She's working with the company. She's doing the movie. She's fulfilling she has to fulfill the entire, she has to fulfill her obligations. All the 10 pictures. I think she has like 10 movies she signed and then 7 years. So she has to finish that before she's free. How many fans do they still have? NewJeans will sabotage Hybe if they will settle. I think NewJeans is the only ones refusing to settle right now. Okay, only the naughty ones. The fine must be huge. 750 million, I think. Where are we going to get that money? 750 million? Oh my gosh. Okay. Is that it? Yes. Okay, that's it for NewJeans. Do you have questions? If NJ decided not to work for Adore, they need to pay out Adore big money. They do. I agree, Fairlane. The court will grant the girl separation, but not winning. They have to pay. They have to work to pay those large amounts. How else are they going to earn it? Does NJ contract end in 2029? Only 4 years left. 2029. Yes. 7 years is the initial contract. Okay. What else? Wonderful is wondering if they started regretting their actions. Please block Irrational Gateway MXNZK. I can't block him from here for some reason. I have to open my Twitch. Okay, so let's go to source music, I guess. There's also a hearing on her case, on their case with uh okay. So source music, if you would remember, the supposed hearing was going to be March, sorry, April, but they had to delay it because the girls requested it. So Le Seraphim requested source music to delay the the um the hearing because they were going to do a comeback, and they decided, okay, we want to concentrate on what we're doing, and any kind of development with this contract is just going to deter us from concentrating on our comeback. And so the management company actually obliged. So they followed the request of the Seraphim, and they delayed, and it finally happened. Okay, that happened. The hearing finally happened. So it happened May 30, and only the legal representatives were present in Seoul Western District Court 12th Civil Affairs Department. So no Min Hee-jin and nobody from Hybe or from Le Seraphim were actually present. Now, had the strategy, what the party, the lawyers of Min Hee-jin did was to question the Kakao text messages that were being presented by Source Music. So as they were talking and presenting their case, which they did for 20 minutes, they were interrupted by the lawyers of Min Hee-jin, and they said that the Kakao text messages are not acceptable because it was illegally obtained. Source Music was talking for 20 minutes. They were talking about they presented Kakao Talk messages they deemed private or illegally sourced. They presented Kakao Talk messages, and the lawyers of Min Hee-jin said that they are illegally sourced. So you cannot present that to court. As a result, the court restricted arguments referencing those messages. So basically, the judge said, right now, I can't determine whether this is illegally obtained or not. So we will proceed with this hearing. We're not just going to talk about that specific um, uh, Kakao Talk messages. So you have to give me time to go through it and determine whether these are valid and acceptable evidence. So that's what the court wanted. It doesn't mean that it will not be accepted forever. The court is just saying they're not sure yet. So they will continue with the hearing. And once the court determines whether those are valid and legal, then they will continue. Okay, now the Source Music legal team criticized Min Hee-jin's legal team for raising the evidence objection just before the presentation, calling it a stalling tactic. So because they are given the evidence, lawyers are given what is going to be presented in court before the hearing, but they actually objected right before they do the presentation. So they were like, yeah, you're just delaying. Okay. So beyond the trial, Source Music has accused Min Hee-jin of spreading false claims. This is in regards to plagiarism and stuff like that. Okay. Now, what should Source Music do to win? Number one, they have to prove that the Kakao Talk messages are legit, that they actually obtained it legally. They are saying that they were sent using phone and computers that belong to the company, and that when you are employed to the company, you sign a document stating that whatever is going to be on that computer or that phone, that will be the property of the company. So they have to prove that. And they have to demonstrate that whatever it is that they are presenting is actually relevant to the case. Okay. Next, they should disprove malicious intent or harmful falsehoods. So they have to also prove that this is, for example, if their argument is that once you get employed by Hive or Adore, you sign this you're given the laptop, you're given the phone, but you also sign this document stating that this is whatever is in here will be the property of Hive or Adore. They have to prove that that has been in place for a really long time and it wasn't implemented just so they can set up Hee-jin and other people in Adore. Okay. That there is no malicious intent to what they did. They should undermine the credibility of Hee-jin, look for inconsistencies in her statement, show that Min may be attempting um, re- uh, revisionist framing to support her position amid going corporate struggles, meaning that she is attempting to frame herself to be um, to to be the driver of good change because of everything that has happened to her. So they need to poke a hole in her credibility. They need to frame the lawsuit as a business protection measure. So they have to make sure that whatever is she is doing, it's harming the business itself, not just the personnel or executives of Hive. Okay. Next is to avoid procedural missteps or courtroom showmanship. So they cannot lose based on technicality. They have to follow the regulations to the letter. They cannot let up. They can't ignore the procedure. Okay, so now they will regroup. I think it's going to be July is the next hearing. So we'll see what's going to happen. But for now, those are the development. When is the court decision going to be for Min Hee-jin? No word yet, but there is something that's going to happen in July. Since they aren't Hive, could the argument be Source isn't the legal entity to access the Kakao Talk messages? Um, since they aren't Hive, could the argument be Source isn't the legal entity to access the Talk messages? Unless there is unless they can establish a link. So if Hive and Source Music establish a link, then that would be legal. Also, they're arguing that some of those Kakao Talk messages actually came from Min Hee-jin herself. I think the Korean court is based, yes. So according to a Korean lawyer, about 95% of their laws are actually based on Korean on US laws. They just have some stuff that they have localized, for cultural reasons, but 95%. Their democratic model is actually patterned after the US. Okay, after all the MHJ shenanigans, now she wants closed door hearings. When will be the next hearing for B-Lif? I want to say May 18, I think. If I'm not mistaken, it's May 18. Interesting. Once again, they are not saying the messages are fake, just illegally obtained. I think that was always a given, that the messages have always been correct. It's just not, you know, they just obtained it illegally. At this point, I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. They got something up their non-existent sleeve. Let's see. Let's see what will happen. I think I just take comfort in the fact that in several months, in several not several months, in several days, in less than 2 weeks, we're going to have a little over 2 weeks. The seven boys are going to be together. All of this like craziness will be done. No one's going to pay attention to this. I promise you. And I also want to encourage everybody to just concentrate on BTS once they are out, because that's what we need to do. Once they are out and the whole world sees just how obsessed the world is to BTS, all of this are going to go away. Like we won't even care. We won't even care. Jin misses JK so much. Multi-stan. no way. Multi-stand. I do think she's trying to stick it to high, but I don't think she has backers. You don't think she has like business backers or something like that? Are there lawyers hiding the evidence? When will they release it? Maybe they have already released it. This year is going by too fast, too fast. So as you know, I'm going to Google for summit. I re-examined what I signed. I'm going to Google for a summit. I'm going to meet them. Bang Luna said, I'm vindictive. I want to see them pay. Well, let me just pull this away. Please like the video. Hi. Okay. Oh, we have more than 500 in YouTube. We have 3 on Twitch and then 200 on X. Okay. 1 second. So one of the things that there's a lot of things that are happening this year. So for the channel, for my work and stuff like that. So I'll be going to Google next week for some stuff. And one of the things actually that I will be discussing with them is the superfan community. Can you believe that? I'm going to be discussing it to my Google representative. I leave for Festa in 3 days. So excited. Oh my God. Congratulations. She has, I'm sure 100% she has backers.